Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. And even more thrilled to now announce to you that we've now incorporated Afterpay, which allows you to pay for our e-modules in 4 installments over a period of 6 weeks. So definitely be sure to check that out. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth focused development. If you are particularly keen on the topic, then we do also write thought pieces every other Sunday, and we actually just dropped a thought piece this past Sunday, so be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. If it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 10 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we've provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe and hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is mental health. And on the topic of mental health today, we're giving you a practical overview of when silence is the best response to protect your peace. And protecting your peace aligns with us maintaining our mental fortitude, so supporting our mental health in the way that we engage and interact or choose to disengage and remove ourselves from different social settings that can infringe on our sense of mental fortitude and impact our mental health in a negative way. And I am a true believer of silence as a form of communication. I think it's choiceful communication to communicate with silence. And there are specific cases where this is pretty much the go-to for me, where I know that the best way of resolving a specific issue or the best way to address a dynamic or a situation that's in front of me, and also protecting my peace and preserving my sense of well-being and mental health, would be to not respond at all. And I have 3 areas where this is essentially my go-to, and only because I'm really not about extreme language will I say that there might be some deviance, but if you know me, if we are interacting and our interactions fall into one of these 3 buckets, then chances are if I stop responding, the likelihood that I begin responding and that those exchanges will continue moving forward is likely very small, right? And only because I don't use extreme language am I not going to say, never. I mean, I'm sure there's extenuating circumstances that I'm not aware of at this present time that might elicit a response from me. But typically, if engagements, if interactions, if dynamics are falling into any of these pillars, then for me, what I've learned through time and experience, that the best way of preserving your peace and protecting your mental health is with no response at all. And without further ado, now that I've given you a bit of a preamble as to what to expect in this video, again, is practical. So these are specific examples where if you feel like you are identifying a situation or a scenario with people in your network and you feel that it falls within any of these 3 pillars, then for me, the best way to deal with that situation is definitely silence. So the first situation where I will respond respond with silence is instigation. And instigation can happen in so many different ways, but if ever it is the case that I'm interacting with someone and I don't feel that we have a mutual focus on resolution, a mutual focus on building a bridge and, restoring our relationship or finding our way to healthy communication, if I do start to feel like this is just instigation, like you're going out of your way to press my buttons or get under my skin, if this is something that I feel is also a pattern of behavior, then at some point the response will be no response. I will just completely stop engaging. And sometimes people call this ghosting, and I don't think that it is ghosting. If the other person's focus is on eliciting a negative reaction or causing me to spiral in a negative state or to feel angst or to feel unsure or to feel angry, then I don't think that that's a healthy interaction for me. And I don't believe that I need to have any threshold whatsoever for that kind of behavior. And it takes a while for me to frame someone's behavior as them being instigators, as them going out of their way to create conflict and to feed drama and to fan the flames of my own, emotional upset and unrest. And I think that if people are doing that intentionally, then I will intentionally completely disengage from these types of individuals. I don't like what that does to me. I am someone who enjoys a peaceful existence. I'm not someone who feeds off drama. And I think before I had a higher threshold for drama. I think all of us had some degree of threshold for drama at some point in our lives. But honestly, once you realize that there is not a whole heck of a lot of positivity that comes out of dramatic situations, then you steer clear of them, and you also stay clear of the people who feed off of that drama. And I find instigators to be those kinds of people. So the moment that I find that someone is really portraying instigator traits, that is nixed. Those interactions are nixed, and I feel like the best response to those kinds of individuals is no response at all. And now the second pillar, so the second mode of behaving that will generate a non-response for me, where eventually it will lead to silence and me completely disengaging, is manipulation. And I am someone who has a real issue with manipulative behavior. I have very little tolerance or threshold for it. And I find it to be an insult to my intelligence. And I find that those who feel like they're going to get away with being manipulative or that they're the puppet master to my puppet strings, I find that this is really just arrogant behavior. I think that people who tend to manipulate are fairly arrogant in the way that they aggrandize even their own intelligence. And I think that a lot of the times when it is the case that people are kind of acquiescing to manipulative tactics, it's done choicefully. It's not done because they're ignorant. I think that for the most part, people weigh out the pros and cons and decide to go with it. Whereas for me, I really have a bone to pick with manipulative behavior, and I don't find that it's necessarily all that constructive to confront someone who's engaging with manipulative behavior, because then it's just opening the gateway to gaslighting. And if there's something that I dislike more than manipulation, it's gaslighting. I do not like when people try to make me question my truth and question what I know to be true based on what it is that I'm experiencing within that interaction, or however it is, or whatever it is that is the focal point of that conversation. So I'm not going to put myself in a position where someone's questioning my interpretation of facts when I feel fairly certain of what's going on. So if it is the case that I need clarity, or that I'm not sure, I'm not immediately going to frame someone's behavior as being manipulative behavior. But if I do see a pattern of behavior that sounds like, looks like, smells like manipulation, then my response is going to be no response. We're going to disengage completely from that. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm being gaslit and I'm having to deal with these really toxic communicative styles that obviously infringe on my mental health. We're just going to cut that down completely. And the third one, which is probably the most controversial, though it's the least black and white by way of slight or offense, but also where I'm equally stringent by way of my rule to not respond or to respond with silence, and that's reconnection. And if there is any reason that we choicefully decided to disengage from one another, whether it was you or whether it was me, if that relationship eroded, if it fell apart, if it stopped working out for whatever reason, and part of that involved disconnection, the probability of reconnection is slim to none. And again, this is if the falling out was because of a specific situation, if there was a pivotal moment that created the need to fall out. Sometimes we just lose touch, and losing touch I don't find falls within the pillar of reconnection being met with silence. But if it is the case that we lost touch because I recognize that there's something about the way that you showed up that really wasn't good for me, that wasn't helpful to my mental health, the reconnection for me is just not something I'm interested in. And my response to reconnection is silence. I believe in effective, concise, cohesive communication. And I find when it comes to relaying the message that I'm not interested in reconnecting, silence is the most effective and concise way of relaying that information. So these are the 3 tips that I have. And again, I know reconnection is a little bit controversial only because I think there are different reasons why people grow apart, and I think that you need to use your own discretion. And for me, if we fell apart or if our relationship eroded because there was a toxic undertone to that relationship, then know that I'm happy to not reconnect. And I think the best way that you will learn that I'm happy to not reconnect is with my silence, if it is the case that you do try to engage with me in the future. And I do believe that, sometimes time does heal all wounds, but just because those wounds have healed does not mean that we should put ourselves in a position to be re-injured. And I think that you always carry that risk with someone who has created that injury in the past. And some of us have more of a risk threshold and we're okay to give another chance. Others of us are not oriented that way. And I think I'm more so the kind of person where if I've learned specific lessons from specific individuals, then I'm not really interested in creating opportunities to learn those lessons again from the same people. So as much as I appreciate and I salute and celebrate everyone's growth and development, it doesn't necessarily translate as having access to me once you've grown or having access to rebuilding a relationship that eroded because of how you showed up in the past. I think that reconnection for me is one of those things where I've grown so much. I'm no longer the person I was even a few months ago, just based on different situations that have come up. And as a result of that, I'm not sure if I would show up in those dynamics and those relationships the same way. And I'm comfortable not finding out, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And this is, again, if the relationship eroded for a specific reason. If we grow apart, it's very different. If we grow apart and I have fond memories, I'm happy to reconnect. But if we grow apart and I remember not so fond memories, then know that will probably lead to my being fairly comfortable just not reconnecting. And I find that in these specific arenas, when it comes to people who instigate, people who manipulate, or people where there is a growing apart or a falling out, and as a result of that, we disengage from one another, I think in these areas, silence is the best way to support and protect our mental health and to push forward on the path that we're on the trajectory that we're on. We don't need to backpedal as much as we sometimes do to be accommodating if that accommodation can come at the expense of our mental health. So that was it. That was all that I wanted to talk about with you today. But before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't also give you a couple of announcements. When it comes to our resilience building parent-child workshops, we do have a special announcement. We have now introduced Afterpay as a payment option for our e-modules, which gives you an opportunity to pay for those modules in 4 installments over a span of 6 weeks. So we're super thrilled to be offering that flexibility by way of payments to give more people access to take part and to participate in these workshops that are really great at building the critical thinking and the intellectual development in children. And again, those workshops, we have 3 full-length modules, so autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and then our precursor module with the self-concept. So definitely be sure to check that out. Also, again, I would be remiss if I let you go without letting you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to join and follow in on those discussions. Now, these events are paid events, though if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I suggest you purchase one of our package plans. We do offer package plans that give you unlimited access to our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops that we offer over and above those live events that focus on providing the critical thinking and the life skills required to derive more meaning and fulfillment out of life. So that's it for today, and that was a lot, I'm sure. Be sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms. Follow us, support the growth and development of the community, the game changer community that we are building, and I look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.